Hi, everyone. We're just waiting for the okay from all the tech people before we start.
That's Jenny.
Yeah, all the tech people.
Just Jenny.
Just making sure.
Okay, I think we're good.
We're good.
Yep.
Good. Okay. All right. Can everyone hear? Just want to make sure in the back if you can wave. If you okay, good, perfect. All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming to our Highway 69 Town Hall. I'm Jamie West. I'm the MPP for Sudbury.
Bonsoir tout le monde. Good evening, everyone. Ani. My name is France Gélinas, and I'm the MPP for Nickel Belt, la députée de Nickel Belt.
Just briefly, a couple of housekeeping things. There are washrooms in the back. If you can come around either side here to get to the back. I believe there's 3 there. There's another one just to the side here if they happen to be full. If anyone needs to the washroom, if there's a fire, we're going to basically go out that way, or there's also a way down below. But if you follow someone from my office, they'll wave their arms and direct you out if there's a fire. We don't really expect any of that to happen, but it's better to be prepared ahead of time. And then if anyone is warm, uncomfortably warm, there are coat racks as well, and there are some snacks and some drinks off to the sides. The goal of what we want to do today is just provide some information about Highway 69, everything that we know, and then open it to you for ideas and suggestions and feedback as well. And then I'll see if Jenny could check the feedback we're getting here. Let me start with land recognition, okay? So there's some feedback on the coming from the mic. We would like to respectfully acknowledge that we are gathered on the traditional and ancestral lands of many Indigenous peoples in the Robinson-Huron Treaty Territory. The Sudbury riding, the Nickel Belt riding, and the communities along Highway 69, the 2-lane portion, include many First Nations land, including Wanapitei First Nation, the Tikmashing and Anishinaabe, Hunvee Endlet, Doki, Magnetawan, and Shawanagan First Nation. We recognize and honor the Indigenous peoples' enduring connection to this land, its waters, all living things since time immemorial. We acknowledge their stewardship, resilience, and the important contribution they continue to make to this region, and we are grateful to live, work, and gather on these lands, and we commit to listening, learning, and working together in the spirit of respect, reconciliation, and partnership.
Oui, je pense que ça va. Ce soir, on est sur le territoire traditionnel de Wanapitei, de Tikmashing Anishinaabe, de la Nation Métis Notice. On est également sur le territoire de Hunvee Inlet pour la section du 68 km qui reste, Magnetawan et Shawanagan.
We don't normally do this in a town hall, but shortly we're going to ask everyone if you're able to stand for a moment of silence. Before we do that, Arsh Patel is here. His parents were one of the recent fatalities. Arsh has asked if he could say a few words before we begin. So, Arsh, if you'd like to come up.
Hello, everyone. My name is Arsh Patel. Oh, thank you. My parents were Vinod Kumar Patel and Shilpa Ben Patel, and they meant the world to me, as well as my younger brother and my 2 grandparents who depend on them and live with us. They lost their lives on the accident on April 7th, which I believe could have been avoided. The reason I'm standing here today is not just to grieve, but also to spread awareness and to fight to make sure something like this doesn't happen again to a future family. The tragedy was sudden and unexpected. One day they were here, and the next day they were gone. Taken on a road that many of us travel weekly for your kids' basketball games, doctor's appointments, and some people commute on it weekly for work. I would not wish this pain on anyone, and yet I feel without action, another family may be standing here exactly where I am right now. So my question is, how long until this highway is fixed, and how many more people need to suffer until it is fixed? Thank you.
Thank you, Arsh. I know there's other people who have stories to share as well, and so we will be opening the floor afterwards to share their stories. So the next part we'll do is a bit of a brief history of what's happened with Highway 69, anything we can share. So I'll get France to begin.
Just before we begin, if it's okay, I would like to hold a moment of silence for all of our friends, our family member, or members of our communities that have had an accident on Highway 69 and have died. If you're able, please rise. We will hold a moment of silence.
Thank you.
So most people who live in Sudbury know that since 1990, we have been promised the four-laning of Highway 69. Part of it has taken place, yay. 68 kilometers of Highway 69 from north of Barrie to just south of the French River hasn't. The number of accidents and collisions since the Ford government came into power in 2018 on that 68-kilometer stretch of Highway 69 that has not been four-lane is 820 collisions. Of that 820 collisions since Ford government was elected, 18 people have lost their lives. 125 people have been seriously injured that we needed to send first responder to help them, ambulance, etc. This has to stop. We know it has to stop. When the government talks about they have intention of finishing it off and all of this, they tend to point the finger and blame the First Nations. There are 3 First Nations on the stretch. That's absolutely true. But there are also at least half of the stretch where it's all Crown land. It belongs to the ministry. It belongs to all of us. So we made conversation and asked. We talked to the chief of HWY. We talked to the chief of Regrettably, and as well as Henry Inlet, to see what was going on. I have been an MPP for 19 years. I've talked to those people for a long time. One of them actually made me laugh a little bit by saying, we know that this highway is important. We want it to be 4-lane. We want it to be safe for our people. We want it to bring prosperity to our people. But nobody has ever talked to us, written to us, emailed us. So he says, right now we're looking for smoke signal to see if they're trying to communicate with us. That made me laugh, but you get the point. So we'll go into a little bit more details as to what the First Nation have to say. But at the core of it is that the government of Ontario just tabled the budget for 26-27. Our budget starts on April 1st, goes to March 31st of the following year. Highway 69 is mentioned in it at the bottom of a page where they talk about all of the billions of dollars that are going to go to help 69. There is no money attached to it, no timeline, no work plan, nothing. They just mentioned that Highway 69 needs to be 4-lane. This is a promise that Mr. Ford did when he was elected in 2018, when he was elected in 2022, when he called this out of nowhere election in 2025. On the front page of their campaign was the four-laning of Highway 69. That was 16, 17 months ago. Not 1 kilometer has been four-lane. The last time that the four-laning of Highway 69 happened, it was in the south of my riding by the French River, and we had about 14 kilometers done. That was the very last time that four-laning happened. It was under the previous Liberal government that it got funded, but the grand opening was made by members of Mr. Ford's government, but the money for it, the plan, and all of this was from the previous government who got the last 14 kilometers. But from north of Nobel all the way to south of the French River, the 68 kilometers, nothing has changed since Mr. Ford has come. We will come to you with more of an ask, but Jamie will talk to you about what's happening now.
And thank you, France. And I think it's, I mean, to be fair, the government, any government could cancel a previous contract, so they did allow the final contract to be finished. There's a lot of recommendations from France and I that they re-tender the contracts for the final 68 kilometers because of the high cost of remobilizing once that heavy equipment was removed. It wasn't accepted by the government at the time. But the reality is this project has been going on for a long time, the four-lane Highway 69, and people have reached out to me concerned about attending an event like this and feeling it's partisan. And I have to be clear, we're not here as New Democrats, we're here as MPPs. It is our job, our role to elevate and amplify your voices. The Highway 69 has become a priority in the community, has been for a long time, not just for safety reasons. The Chamber of Commerce has been calling for this for many years from the economic point of view. And so in terms of sharing what we know right now, and France started part of it, the federal funding, you may have seen Vivian's letter she had yesterday. Vivian and I spoke on Saturday. She was confirming some of the facts. In 2019, there's $169 million committed through the Building Canada Fund. And so the only string attached was the province had to match their funding. So whatever, if it was less than $169 million, they'd only have to match their half. The province has failed to do that since 2019. And so in that letter, MP Lapointe, our federal member for Sudbury, requested that the Premier commit the funding required to complete the four-laning of Highway 69 and direct the Minister of Transportation and the Treasury Board to adopt an accelerated construction timeline and treat the completion of the highway as a public safety emergency, which I think we both would agree. I think everyone in the room would agree with. Very briefly, locally, what we've done provincially is that we have continuously sent letters asking for more details on this, asked questions during question period about this, and I'm talking about since I was elected in 2018. France can go back beyond that. Asked the Premier for questions on this, asked the Premier why he would make a statement in the last election that if you're off by an inch, you're gone on that section of two-lane highway and commit no dollars to this. When France talked about the budget will list items such as bridge repairs and the dollar amounts going towards it. It just says continue our work on Highway 69. The work has not started, so continuing nothing is nothing. And that's what we're calling for on this. I've added questions on the order paper. And so in question period, sometimes they say it's called question period for a reason. They don't call it answer period because, you know, the minister may not want to answer and can just run up the clock talking about anything else. The order paper, within, I think it's 30 sitting days, 20 sitting days, they have to reply with answers in response. Our questions are the questions I submitted are very closely related to the questions that Tyler Clark had asked in one of his articles that the government would respond to. Basically timelines, when are the starts, how many meetings are you having, what's the committed date, things like that, which we could share and I think are part of the press package as well. The petitions that have gone out, there have been thousands of signatures. There's a specific type of petition that France and I could table at Queen's Park. We've had thousands of signatures on our petitions. There's also a change.org petition. We can't, the way it's formatted, we can't table those. But there's been thousands more on that. I want to recognize Lisa Aho, who could not be here tonight. but went to pick up petitions, went to the farmer's market on the weekend, and I was told there was a lineup of people wanting to sign petition. She's driving one of her kids back from school and maybe traveling on 69 as well, but I want to recognize her extra work, as well as many others who have been very involved in this. We've had stakeholder meetings with varieties of people who have been affected by the accidents they're having there, the Chamber of Commerce, for example, and other organizations. Franz talked a little bit about the First Nations. I don't know if you want to expand more before, because we're asked to read one of the...
Do you want to start with Magna?
Sure. So we had meetings. We actually had to leave Queen's Park early on Thursday to get back to Sudbury to meet with the chief and the deputy chief from Regrettably First Nation, and they asked if I could read this letter, which is also in the press package. If you're writing notes and you're in the press, you would have it in your package. Minu Gazep, MPP West. My name is Lloyd Naganosh. I'm the chief of Regrettably First Nation, located along Highway 69, approximately 60 kilometers north of Parry Sound. As you may know, Ontario, via the Ministry of Transportation, has begun work on the proposed expansion of Highway 69. The remaining 68 kilometers highway to be expanded from 2 lanes to 4 lanes runs directly through our reserve lands, and the expansion of the highway requires 150 acres of our reserve land. Regrettably First Nation is committed to the expansion of Highway 69. We want a road that is safe for all to travel, a road with fewer accidents. More in the mic. Sorry. Where did I stop? Regrettably First Nation is committed to the expansion of Highway 69. We want a road that is safe for all to travel, a road with fewer accidents, a road safe to travel by emergency and first responders, and a road that will bring work and investment to northern towns and communities. With these goals and responsibilities in mind, we've done the work of the Ministry of Transportation to address shared best interests regarding the highway expansion. We continue to carry out negotiations in good faith. At the same time, we're deeply concerned by the province's failure to complete an assessment of the boundary land claim submitted by Regrettably First Nation over 5 years ago. In this claim, we assert that the Crown failed to properly set out boundaries, Regrettably Reserve Number 1, under the 1850 Robinson-Huron Treaty. We filed our land claims in 2021. On July 13, 2022, Ontario advised us they would complete their assessment of our land claim within 3 years. So 3 years from 2022. That deadline has long since passed, and despite our continued follow-up and communications with representatives from the Ontario Ministry of Indigenous Affairs and First Nations Economic Reconciliation, we have yet to receive any indication from Ontario as to the outcome of the assessment of our claim. We are limited by the space available in our reserve to provide housing, health services, and economic opportunities for those who live here now and for those who want to come home. Our First Nation wants the highway upgraded while ensuring we have our land for our families today and for tomorrow. We write to you today to ask that you raise this issue directly with your fellow MPP colleagues, the Honourable Prabhing Singh Sakaria and the Honourable Greg Rickford, who have those 2 ministry files. We need a serious commitment from Ontario to work with us on our land claim. All parties concerned need certainty and clarity from the province in order to make responsible decisions about the safety and the highway expansions. Only 1 week ago, 2 lives were lost in a head-on collision on Highway 69 a few miles from our First Nations community. People living near and those who are traveling through have seen too much of this for too long. We hope to be counting your support. Please contact us to require further information. Miigwech, Chief Lloyd Naganosh, and all of the council has signed as well. In the meeting, before I hand off to Franz, they want to be very clear that the land claim and the highway are not connected. They do not need to start negotiations on the land claim. The province doesn't have to commit to anything. They're fine moving forward with legal challenges that they have on the land claim. Often in the press, they get twisted together, and they want to really make sure that we emphasize the fact that they are 100% in favor of the highway being built and constructed. And just ask that Franz and I made sure that was clear that they have these 2 issues, but they're not connected. They're not holding one over the head of the other one to move forward. They want this to happen as much as we do.
I had the opportunity to talk with Chief Adam Powis. He is the Chief of Shawinigan. And basically, Chief Powis told me very, very similar story. He told me that 12 years ago, they were in negotiations. The negotiations were a little bit slower because they wanted a large animal walkway, a bit like what we have around Killarney. They wanted one of that close to their territories because there's lots of moose that migrates through, and they wanted to keep it safe. The Ministry of the Environment did the work, and they agree. Once they agree, they agreed on the route for the 4-laning on Highway 69 to go through their territories 10 years ago. 10 years ago, they agreed, and they're still in agreement. He talked about having put together a business. They got a contract right now with the Ministry of Transportation to do the winter maintenance as well as the maintenance of Highway 69. They have everything to gain to have Highway 69 4-lane. It would be a bigger contract. It would bring more money to their land. Same thing. They are equipped to help build the 4-lane of Highway 69 and would like nothing more for this to be tender so that they can bid on it and make money from it. To say that they are ready, willing, and open to have Highway 69 4-lane through their territory is an understatement. When I last talked to him, he had a meeting with Minister Rexford, who is in charge of First Nations, and he had explained to me that oftentimes when they try to talk to the government, and I will quote his word, he says, by the time we brief someone from the Ontario government, they need to share with 17 supervisors before they can get to someone who can sign a document. They haven't been able to talk to the Premier, but they finally had a meeting with Minister Rexford. They were happy about this. The meeting ended with Rexford saying, I've only been briefed on this issue for 48 hours. I will have to get back to you. The issue has been going on since 1990, but the minister had been briefed 48 hours before he met with the First Nations. So we wanted to share that with you because this polarization that happened, that it's because the First Nations don't want to negotiate that Highway 69 is not 4-lane, doesn't hold. When you take the time to talk to them, they convince me. Yeah, they came all the way to Sudbury. They went into Jamie West's office. We met with them. They brought not only the chief, but other representative of the band that were there to convince us they are ready, willing, and able. They want this to happen. So why is it not happening? Well, you need money for that to happen. There is billions of dollars in the Ontario budgets for road, zero allocated to Highway 69. Are there engineering work that needs to happen? We have engineers here with us. I guarantee you there's engineering work that needs to happen. But we have the knowledge, we have the skills in Ontario. We know how to build highway. We do this in Southern Ontario all the time. Why can it not be done in Northern Ontario to finish this off? I have my view on it, but we want to change this. That's why we want you to tell us, why is it important for Highway 69 to be 4-lane? We live in a democracy. The more that we can bring your own words to Queen's Park, you speak from a place of power. You live it. You have lived experience. Your family have lived experience. Share that with us so that every single day in the House we will share your stories till every single minister knows about what's going on and puts pressure on to change things for the better. And changing things is quite clear. Make it 4 lanes.
Thank you, Franz. The other thing that was shared that I was just thinking about is that the environmental assessment, the engineering plans were drawn. The other thing it was, thank you, Jenny. The other thing that was shared with us was that the environmental assessments for the highway have been done for several years. The engineering plans are in place. The only adjustment that the chief saw was that with the speed limit moving from 100 to 110s, the turnoffs may have to be reassessed for the size or for the speed of people getting onto them. But all of that work that would have had to have happened long ago has been in place, and the chief he wasn't sure if they had to reassess because it had been so long. But there is nothing standing in the way of this being funded and moving forward. And I think that's important as well. I've lost where we are in the agenda. Just give me one moment. Give our update. So a couple of things that have been shared with us that we basically follow the people who have voted in Sudbury. It doesn't matter if you specifically voted for us. We listen to the voters of Sudbury of what their priority is. So the number one thing has been suggested, what makes obvious sense, is that we complete the 4-lane of Highway 69. Can we just do all of them? Yeah, okay. As well, we need better winter maintenance. There are people who are sliding on the roads. There has been a private contracting that has contributed to some of this where the sections aren't done as well. We can go in the weeds on it, but there's a variety of reasons. So we need to improve our winter road maintenance in the winter and potholes and other things in the summer, shoulders, that sort of stuff. We need to enforce the road safety rules. We need to enhance the truck driver training, especially for winter conditions on smaller highways, including 69, but farther north, 1117, 144. And then something that has come up for a lot of people is that there are issues with fraudulent truck driver training. And a lot of times this gets translated over to the driver himself or herself not being able to drive. And John Banthoff, who has shared this about, he was one of the people who did the drive to Manitoba and back in 1117. A lot of times the focus is on that driver. The reality is that driver has a license from the province of Ontario. This can be addressed at the provincial level where the testing standards can be more stringent. I know that I can't get my license, a Class G license for my car, if I can't parallel park or if I can't go in reverse, which are not parallel parking, but going in reverse is an actual example of a driver who was stopped. Not being able to control your Z brakes, the air brakes, is an example of a driver who had their license. And we can be angry at the driver for having the license, or we can be angry at the province for not having stricter testing regulations to ensure that somebody can't get on the road without knowing how to drive. And I think the focus has to be on the things that we could solve, because driver to driver, we're not going to solve this, but if you raise the standard, the threshold to be able to drive on the road, that's where our focus needs to be. So as Franz said, we're going to go on to sharing your story, hearing from you, your suggestions, your solutions. I know there are some people, there's a lady in the front row who has a photo. As we open it to the floor, if somebody wants to share a story before the suggestions, maybe we could give them priority just out of respect of what they've gone through. But if you just want to be here, like in gratitude of someone you lost, you don't feel like you have to speak. So just I see some hands going up. We have microphones? Okay, so here's what we're going to do. If you want to speak, please raise your hand. We have people, Jenny, Tina, Nicole, okay, who can help sort of identify and keep track of who, I keep moving away from the mic, I'm sorry. If you want to speak, please raise your hand. They'll bring the mics to you so you're able to hear. We want to hear your stories. We want to hear what else can be done, how else we can get involved. We're going to work on this together. If you have to leave early, please, there's petitions at the front. There's QR codes where you can share your stories with us. You can send them in. If you don't feel comfortable speaking in front of a crowd, you can send us an email as well. And we want to try to, I don't want to limit people, but we want to make our conversations concise so as many people as possible can speak. If you have a longer story to share, Franz and I are very happy to meet with you afterwards or schedule a time that's convenient for you. Okay?
Just, I would like to share as much as we would both like to share as much of your stories as possible. The people on all sides at Queen's Park, we're all human beings. When you hear a real story, it changes the tone at Queen's Park. It changes things, and that's what we want to do. We want to put pressure on the government to do the right thing and 4 lanes. So if you feel comfortable sharing your story publicly, let us know, because we will share them. You don't have to share your name. You can just say, I'm a resident of Lively, and this is what happens to me, and that's very powerful. If you are comfortable sharing your names, we will gratefully do that also. But don't feel like you have to. If you don't want us to share your story, just say so. You just want it shared here. If you don't say that, then we'll take it for granted that you're okay for us to bring the story that you share with us and bring them to Queen's Park. Vous pouvez partager vos histoires en français également. On s'exprime dans les deux langues. Si vous préférez nous parler en français, vous pouvez le faire également. C'est votre choix.
Merci, France. This lady I saw had her hand up, and I'll leave it to you guys to manage who's speaking next.
My name is Lynn. I'm from Sudbury. Shilpa Patel was my coworker and dear friend, and I miss her dearly. Shilpa and her husband Vinod weren't on a leisure trip down to Toronto. Like many of us, they had to go down for medical treatment. And this is twofold. This is twofold of us Northern Ontarians needing to go down to Toronto for medical treatment and traveling on a dangerous highway. I just wanted to share for Shilpa, and I wanted her to be here with us. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Suketu Patel, and I'm a very good friend of Vinod and Shilpa Patel. Since we moved in Sudbury 18 years back, they are the first family who met, and generally we are the immigrants, so we don't have generally relatives live with us, so friends are our relatives basically. So one of the things, like as Minister said, that since 90s these efforts is going, right? And still not much happened. Yes, there is quite a bit highway done, 68 left. But the one thing what I saw, even I was reading in Sudbury Star today morning, we were fighting amongst each other. And that's what the benefit they get, and things not done. Because I was just reading the comment under the Sudbury Star article. One is commenting and arguing with other and basically challenging this political party, that political party. So come on, like we need to get matured here and get one voice on progressive thinking rather than blaming here and there kind of. So what we are doing is basically we are launching a new website in 2 days. You guys can have access, and I need everyone's help as well to make this website more accessible. The website will be savelivesonhighway69.com. And we wanted to accumulate all these informations, past and presents and progress and histories and incidents and accidents, everything from that website. So anybody can go there, and at least basically that's where we can advocate. We develop, push our togetherness and push to the Queen's Park to work for it. So I think there is enough voice we raise. And again, you see that last 20-30 days, there are probably 8-9 articles in media, and Jamie raised the question in Queen's Park, but there is no official statement came out from the Conservative. So one of the things is that we all need to get together and just rather than questioning, oh, you are liberal, I am NDP, or you are Conservative, forget about all these and just think about moving forward what we wanted to do. Because this kind of the comment when anybody read in the Sudbury Star or any other media, they say, okay, this is good. These things going to be another 20, 34 days, like another couple of town hall meeting, parade here and there, and then everything dies. People get busy in their life, they go back and work. Because another Shilpa and we know the life, we celebrate their life, we mourn with them, we pray with them, but how we give a tribute to them. So this is the way we can give a tribute to them. And this is the time not to divide. When we are divided, everybody can win on us. So we need to get together and push in one voice. Forget about, yes, there is some drivers who are not driving well. Yes, there is one lane. Sometimes it happens to anybody. But we need to get together in one voice and send these messages to the Queen's Park. Put our differences out for now. Because otherwise, it's happened in 1990, still in 2026 now. It's going to be 2050. People die, things get raised, and nothing can happen. So please put your voice aside. Thank you.
Anybody else want
Thank you. I'd like to thank Jamie and Franz for bringing people together as you have. It's not an easy task, and it's been far too long that this road has not been completed. We have a total transportation, lack of accessible transportation from this city, including the airport and the Porter pullout. And I don't hear anybody at the city-operated airport doing anything about an optional flight, and they're leaving Air Canada with a monopoly on prices. So aside from that, I've listened to what Franz and Jamie have had to say, and I'm so happy and grateful that you clarified the myth of our Indigenous friends. They are, as Jamie said, two separate issues. They have always been two separate issues. Enough is enough. So my question or suggestion in terms of the capacity building of local citizens who are affected by the road and getting to and from Toronto is this. What are our local politicians doing? Are they working with you? Where is City Council on this? Where is Wanapitei and Whitefish First Nations joining with their other First Nation partners? Where are the mayors or reeves of the cities that are affected along that route, along Parry Sound, into Muskoka even, all right? It is a paramount issue that everybody has to get on board with this and push hard. I have known Greg Rickford. He's from Kenora. He's very familiar with Native issues because that is a huge issue in Northwestern Ontario. I would go directly to him, bypass the 17 supervisors, and go directly to him and talk to him about the idiocy of the divisive plot that the Ontario government has put between First Nations and the citizens of this region. He'll get that quickly. So that's my suggestion, and heads up to both of you.
Thank you very much. Just as they come around here, so Franz and I have spoken with Minister Rickford. We also spoke with the Minister of Transportation. They're aware as well. Vivian has spoken about this. Mayor and council are supportive of Highway 69. I think one of the things that is important to point out is that you'll hear sometimes, I'm not trying to be political, but you hear sometimes you need to vote for the government in power in order to get Highway 69 done. That section of Highway 69 is 70 kilometers from Sudbury. It is not my riding at all. It is, the majority of it, about 90%, is in a conservative held riding of Parry Sound Muskoka. It helps their members as much as ours. It's important that, I think as was said earlier, that this is not a political thing. This is about helping to save lives of people, and people vote all different ways and sometimes vote different ways in every election. So it's not anything political. This is about saving lives and doing what's right for the province.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, my name's Lionel Rudd. Sorry, I should know how to use this. I've lived in Sudbury for a heck of a long time. My short story is that two of my students were killed, one on 69 Highway at Point of Morel and another one on Highway 144. I think the problem rests firmly with Doug Ford and the Minister of Transport, as well as the ministry. Our highways have not evolved, I think, from the horses and carts. 144 was built about 50 years ago, and the highway designs have not improved since then. One of the things I shared with France, and that is one of the things you learn in engineering, is what happens when you come to rest against something solid. The formula that every engineer learns is F equals MC. Force equals mass times acceleration. And one of the insidious things that the Ford government and the Ministry of Transport introduced in Ontario is increasing the speed limits. So that means that when you hit something a darn sight harder at 120 than you do at 90. And so the consequences are quite lethal. So I think we really need to put the blame where it rests. I think the engineers in the MTO are pitiful, and they're answerable to no one, and so is the MTO. I don't care who hears me say this, and I think those are the people who should be getting the nasty letters. Drive safe.
What Lionel has just said, when I share the stats about the number of fatalities since the last government was elected, those were all head-on collision. It's not people going out in the ditch, it's head-on collision. If you had 4 lanes, there wouldn't be anybody coming at you.
My name is John Snow. We talked about the personal things that happen to families and so on.
John, can you raise the mic? Just we're live streaming too for people who are able to join.
What do you
So
want me to do?
just bring the mic closer to your mouth. Yeah.
Like this? Okay. I want to give a personal element to this. 25 years ago, coming this June the 7th, there was an accident down 69, and 2 nurses were killed, one of whom was my wife. And I wanted to share with you how that really affects families. The young man who stood up at the beginning, thank you, sir, for your courage in saying all that. But since that time, I've had 3 marriages in my family, my children, that is, and 8 grandchildren. They've grown up without their grandmother, and I have to tell you a story about my little Ryan granddaughter when she was about 3 years old. Her dad said, "Grandpa's coming over for a visit." And she said, "1 grandpa or 2 grandpa?" And he said, "Well, what do you mean?" And she said, "Well, 1 grandpa doesn't have a grandma, and 2 grandpa has a grandma." And all of those grandchildren have only grown up with 1, 2 grandmas. And I'm sure there are other people in this room right now who have their own stories about what's missing in their lives. We make the adaptation, we adjust, we heal, but we're scarred. And life goes on. And you mentioned personal stories and reaching out to ministers and members. Feel free to share that story.
Thank you, John. And John has shared this story with me as I think even before I was elected, when I was running, John had shared the story as well and raised my awareness about the fact that these highways are for work too, and we often think of transport drivers for work, but we have people who travel for work on a regular basis. We have people servicing different unions who travel for work. We have people in sales moving back and forth for work. Even last week, France and I generally travel together. I had to go early to Queen's Park, and I was worried about what would happen to France on the road and how I would feel if something happened to her the time we didn't travel together. And so I think that's the thing we all get when the highway's closed. You immediately think of where are your friends, where are your family, right? And then who else in the community is going to be affected. The mic has gone to the next person. Okay.
Hi there. My name is Dr. Gary Boda. I was the head of Emerge starting in 1982. And when we moved here with our then young family, I was just shocked. So we started doing research into the road, what was going on. Per kilometer traveled at that time, Highway 69 was the most dangerous road in North America, the US and Canada, per kilometer traveled. Few years later, I ended up doing a study. We looked at 280 autopsies of people killed on our Northern Ontario roads. And it got us a little bit, but it wasn't until we had an event similar to what we're having tonight, and it was a series of prominent deaths, sad deaths, that happened in the late 1980s, early 1990s, and we formed a committee with Rick Bartolucci at that time, and Jerry Lougheed, myself, a couple of others, and somehow we were able to move things forward. Now, yes, the numbers being killed and injured is still high. But I'll tell you, the 4-laning that we've gotten has had a huge impact on reducing the numbers that I would see every weekend, literally every weekend. And so let's go. Keep going forward. We need this road built.
Thank you, Gary.
My name is Niranjan Mishra. I'm a highway engineer. I know it is not impossible. And we know this is the first meeting I have attended as a public meeting. I want to be the last meeting we have attended. The couple who came from India, Gujarat, they came with a lot of dreams. They came in 2009. I came 44 years back. I have lived through the bad situation through Highway 69 going to and from Toronto. I have seen a lot of improvement. It is done. It is almost done. Now, we don't care who is responsible for it, which party looks after the government, who is there. It is for public good. Vinod Patel and Shilpa, my good family friends, young people who wanted to build up career and life in a civilized country called Canada. They came from India, and like him and like them, I have lived in both the countries. And Canada is a developing country, high technology, as good as in USA. I have worked both places. And I imagine we all give problems to each other. It is your problem. It is your problem. No, it is our problem. We all are responsible for this. So, my request is, please ask the government, please ask the Transportation Department that it must be done as quickly as we can, because these two young people have given their lives recently. These are indelible dent in our heart, and we don't want anything to happen. The sooner, the better. Thank you.
As we move to the next speaker, I know that we've been talking a lot about the Patel family, which is near and dear to my heart as well. There are other people who have died on the highway. There was another death 2 days later that happened on the highway. Those names weren't released, and there were names before, so we're not isolated. I know we're all bound. I've always said Sudbury's a community that cares. I know that we care about everybody who was injured and killed on the highway. Go ahead.
Hi. Okay, I've been attending these meetings here, I'd say for a good 30 years. And every time we leave, it's we get some promises and only to watch the government kick the can down the road. There's no incentive to get them to motivate themselves to get the work done, to get on with it. My thoughts might be something to the, we put lots of money into the coffers of the provincial government through various mining activities, all of the different lumber mills, just the economic diversity of our northern communities. Why can't we take the money that's designated for the provincial government and have it put into a trust? And it will be released to the provincial government when they meet certain parameters or certain milestones that are laid out by the committees or group like this here. You know, there should be some priorities and prioritizing who's on first, what's on second here. So that money could be released, could be, say, sequestered and put into a trust fund. It's, in other words, if we're paying taxes or whatever, we're not reneging on our our job to do that, but we're just saying, okay, it's going to go into a pot and you can't access it till you do something. And then when you do it, we'll release a percentage of it to you. So we've got to keep the government, obviously we got to keep, that's the lubrication, money's the lubrication that keeps the wheels turning there. So we have to provide for that, but by the same token, if we just want to, we're going to leave here, and guess what? They'll kick the can down the road again and again, and we'll do another meeting, and guess what will happen? They'll come along and say, yes, yes, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and then they kick the can down the road again and again. Nothing ever gets resolved. So my, unless you take the money away from them and make them squirm a little bit, then they'll do something instead of trying to build a tunnel underneath the 401 or, I mean, come on now, let's be serious. You still got 4-lane highway ending in Lively, and it should be connected to the other part of it that starts around Broder Tire there at the south end. I mean, that should be you should have individual priorities on each segment of this
Like a master
project,
plan.
and then have funding not taken away from them, but sequestered
As a held back, yeah.
and then release it in tranches as they complete something. A percentage will be released.
Okay, we'll give France a moment to reply.
Let me say that I like the way you think, and and I like your ideas. At the same time, I don't make promises that I can't keep. Controlling the taxpayers' money is something that would need a lot of people to agree before we get it done. But at the same time, we do live in a democracy. If enough people speak with one voice and ask for the same goal, we will get it. The louder we are, the more people speak with one voice and say, we want the 4-laning of Highway 69, the sooner we will get it. And please speak loudly.
Just before we get to our next speaker, I just want to point out as well what France was saying. By now you heard about the jet that the Premier bought and then sold like within 2 days. That was because of public pressure and the voices that were speaking up. So in the room, and not to out you, Wendy, but Wendy Fram is in the room. And Wendy's son, Jordan, was killed in a mining tragedy along with Jason Chenier. And they formed Mines. Mining Inquiry needs everyone's support. And it wasn't, Wendy and her daughter Brianna did a lot of work on this, and they were the face of the project, but it was the community that demanded that the regulation 854, the health and safety regulations for mining, was reviewed and updated and changed. We can do this from being in this room and applying pressure and keeping the pressure on, and so France and I are committed to helping ensure that pressure stays on. We do know the Premier's feeling the pressure. We do know the Minister of Transportation is feeling the pressure. We do know that Graydon Smith, the majority of that is in his riding, is feeling the pressure. We have to ensure that the pressure stays on so that they feel motivated to move forward. And then I forgot, I apologize for cutting off whoever had the mic. Oh, right over here.
Thank you. I just want to say one line here. This Highway 69 4-lane is not a luxury. It's just necessity for us. And we have to build as a citizen of this country at anywhere, we have a right to have a proper road and good road for our future generation and for us. So it doesn't matter whose party or anything. We need it, and you just tell us what, as a common people, what we have to do for that. That's all I have to. Thank you.
Thank you. I saw someone had their hand at the front. Okay, sorry. Okay, Kate.
Thank you so much for giving this opportunity. I will talk very fast because we know we have limited time. I'll start with a quotation given by my grandfather. When there's a problem, there's a solution. When it's not problem, there's no solution. Considering this last decades, I believe that no one considering Highway 69 is a problem. That's why we are not getting on solution. And just you mentioned, even this year, there's no budget for Highway 69. Do you believe that someone sitting in the government take the responsibility that it was a mistake, or they just oblivious about northern people and they didn't put any money? So I believe there's someone should be take responsibility to that. And I want to add one more suggestion. Like you mentioned about the heavy vehicle drivers, like any other professional, engineers, doctors, healthcare, nurses, you name it, they have compulsory mandatory CPD, continuous professional development hours. Is there any provision for the heavy vehicle drivers every couple of years? They have sort of training, sort of compulsory learning hours. Can we just add in our system that they have to go like every couple of hours for mandatory training, or mandatory even online training, that kind of thing? Thank you.
I don't know the answer for that, but I can find out. I do know that the start of the solution, though, really is to ensure that the testing to get the license ensures that they can have the basics of driving. People should not be passing and getting their licenses if they can't drive. I don't know how to drive a transport either. I'm saying myself as well. If I decided my next career was transport driving, I need to be tested to the point where I can actually drive the transport. I think we're going online.
Yeah, sorry. There is a question coming through the Facebook Live, and it's contributing to all of this because we're all talking about ideas. The person asked, what can we do peacefully to protest the broken commitment other than send email, phone calls, etc.? So this person's asking, like, what else can we do to get louder?
Part of our job as an MPP is to bring your voice to Queen's Park. Share your stories with us. Share your reason why Highway 69 has to be 4-lane. The more, as I said, you don't have to share your name, but if you can say, I'm the mother of 2 kids, I live in Lively, this is the story of my family, we will bring those stories to Queen's Park. Signing petition, writing letters, emails are all helpful. Sharing real life story as to this is the problem and this is what you want for a solution is very powerful. Jamie and I will be more than happy to share it respectfully of your family, respectfully of what you feel comfortable sharing and not sharing, but please bring those stories forward.
My name is Darlene Zilberberg, and a couple of years ago, driving on that highway, I missed 2 moose by a car length. It was dark, I slammed on the brakes, and I was staring at the back end of 2 moose. That is a life-changing experience. I hate driving on that highway at night, and for good reason. I guess the other thing that really makes me very angry right now is having read what Vivian Lapointe's article was, that the provincial government was telling the federal government that they would start this project, finish it, 2029 and be finished by 2036. There's no money, you're saying, in the budget. There's no work plan, and that road is not going to be finished by 2036. And it is not going to be started in 2029 without a work plan. I mean, all of those kinds of things, and no people even to call in here and say, tell us what your work plan is. Tell us what you're going to do. It is not going to happen. We should be fuming right now, and so should the federal government. They're being misled. It is just so aggravating because we've been so polite about this thing. You know, if they say, well, you know, we're working on it or whatever, and Doug Ford says he's going to drive the bulldozer, whatever he's going to do, it's not going to happen. And something like this should be a trigger point for all of us to say, as a community, at every level, we need to move this thing forward and just get it done. Thank you.
I was just going to say, a look behind the counter. The reason government does things like that is so that they can say things like Highway 69 is part of our $500 billion plan to fix highways in Ontario. They use vague statements to brush people off. If you aren't looking at it critically or thinking about it critically, we have a 15-year plan to provide high-speed internet to every home in Ontario in the next 15 years. They can spend none of that for 14 years, and then they can apologize in the 15th year for not hitting the target. So it is important that you get angry. It is important that you hold them accountable and that you say things like this. That's very important.
Hi, my name is Parikshit Patel, and I would like to bring this to everyone's attention that more than 70% of families, kids have either studied or is currently studying in Toronto. Lots of hockey teams, basketball teams, all sports teams, they travel from Sudbury or northern parts to the southern part of Ontario. Now that 68-kilometer road, if you go by the speed limit that is there, 90 kilometers per hour, it takes 2,700 seconds. If you add coming and going back, it becomes 5,400 seconds. And if you are going multiple times, it keeps adding. You just need 1 second of error to affect the family of multiple, like the people who is dependent on them. So my request is to everyone, as per lots of people have said, that keep this fire on. Wherever you see, whenever you see that there is a movement for this Highway 69 extension, please join that and keep this fire on. Support every beat wherever you see the information. Just support from yourself, and we need to have this done for the future families, our kids, and so on, right? So I request everybody to keep this fire on, not just forget and move on as like usually when we get busy we do. So I thank Jamie and friends for doing this, but I'm requesting that after the question to Premier, if we don't get answer, we just need to keep doing this thing until we get this done. So thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for providing this opportunity to raise my voice and my personal incident over Highway 69. Two incidents I want to share today. I am a young entrepreneur and I started my logistic business. And because of the poor road maintenance, I lost my first commercial vehicle. It went into the ditch because of the poor maintenance road, and I lost that contract as well. Other than that, I was very often traveling, like I was traveling bi-weekly to our temples in Toronto for my mental peaceness, and even doesn't matter it is winter or summer, I was going there every bi-weekly, on a bi-weekly basis. And one day I was trying to get into the SN gas station, and I was on my like limit speed, and I slam on brake just to stop my vehicle to get the turn, but it got slide into and I just missed to hit into the snowbank. From that day I stopped going to temple unnecessarily. I stopped traveling unnecessary to the Toronto. So yeah, these are my personal incident. If that can help to raise and solve this concern.
Absolutely, thank you for that.
Hi, my name is Davis Sentis. I have to say that when I remember, my earliest memories of this was back when I was 14 years old. And back in 1999, I was laughing that, oh, they're planning this out to be done by 2012 for the end of the world. That was a joke I'd made. I'm not laughing anymore. I'm angry. So angry about this. I want to see that wonderful idea of having a commitment monetarily that is paid not just to the government in waiting, not just to the government that's saying, okay, well, we're promising we're going to get this done for you in the future, but once we're in power, it's no longer a priority. It's unacceptable. And it can't go on. Thank you.
Agreed.
So we have time just for a couple more questions before the MPPs wrap up.
I wasn't going to say anything, but Jamie said something that sparked an idea. So I don't know if a lot of people here know, but there's a big movement down south against Highway 413, if anyone has heard of it. It's one of those highways that's supposed to bypass Toronto from, let me think, Newmarket all the way to Mississauga or something. And someone who lives up north, it's just an insult to people here who are waiting for funding for Highway 69. So there's a huge movement down south against Highway 413. It'll just encourage more sprawl and be absolutely terrible for the environment. So just an idea, when it comes to building and improving Highway 69, it's not only saying yes to northern projects, but also saying no to southern projects, which are a big waste of money. And to be quite honest, a lot of people down south just don't want. So.
Hello, everyone. I'm holding in my arms my medical documents from the last 3.5 years of having to spend in Toronto. So as you can see, they're pretty thick. Every time I get in my vehicle and have to head down there to see the doctors that are not only saving my life, but saving everybody else's in this room at some point, at some time in our lifetime. We may have to see them because they were world known, they are the best doctors you can get, and you need that care. What do you do if you have to get on that highway and choose between saving your life and seeing these doctors, or getting on that highway and dying for it? I lived in Toronto when I was 20 years old. My husband and I moved back to Sudbury. We've been married for 41 years. And when we were 19, we had a laughing bet going. I said, I will guarantee this highway will not be done by the time I'm 65, which is 4 years from now. He said, no way, that's impossible. It'll get done. Oh my God, with all the money we have in this country and all the people that are dying on this highway, oh, they have to do something. Well, guess what? I think I'm going to lose my $5 bet because I got 4 years to go and I don't want to wait anymore and I don't want to lose my bet. And you know what? I think every single person in this room, I'm sure you're all thinking the same way as I am. Every time you get in your car, you pray to God you're going to be coming out of it in Toronto alive and coming back alive. Because I'll tell you, I can't do it anymore. I just, all the taxes we pay and there's nothing to show for it. Up here in Northern Ontario, we're very lucky. We lead a very beautiful life. We have our beautiful acreage. Look out this window. Look at that. Our beautiful lakes, our forests, our trees, our natural wildlife. I don't want to have to move to Toronto to get my medical care. But you know what? Everyone in this room someday might have to get that doctor that's going to save your life. And you have no choice. You have to drive that highway. And we don't, you know what? We have to actively decide to not have to choose this. We need to figure out a way to get that damn highway finished. Because, oh my God, it's only 80 kilometers or so. Come on, get real. We're not talking 700 kilometers. It's not like we're asking for a lot. you know.
It's 68 kilometers. I know because France makes me measure it with the odometer every time we drive it.
Twice a week, every week, I make him measure just to make sure that we didn't get it wrong. To have the timeline to say that it will start in 2029 and be finished by 2037, who are we kidding here? Like, that's 6 kilometers a year? Like, we can do better than this. We know how to build highway. We know how to 4-lane a highway. There is no way it should take that long. Please keep sharing your story. And I know somebody has their hand up.
My name is Janine Lacasse. I've lived on Highway 69 since I'm little. I've had a history with the road. My mother passed away in an accident. My father was driving, and in the crash, he actually killed 3 people. There was another vehicle involved, and he had to live with this for about 11 years after my mom passed away. That was in the year 2000. Afterwards, in 2002, there was a renowned young lady named Kelly Henderson, who lost her life along with her 2 sons, twin sons. After that time, there was a lobby group, and I believe the doctor who spoke earlier was part of that group, that was called Crash 69, which meant community rallying against a substandard Highway 69. They had an extremely large voice. They had billboards along Highway 69, and that got the government going. And I firmly believe that France and Jamie are right. The more we speak out, the more action is taken. If we say nothing, we get nothing. This highway was built in the 1950s. It was not meant for the amount of traffic that we have nowadays. It is substandard, and we need to take action. Jerry Lougheed, who was also on that committee called Crash 69, stated this: take us from promises to pavement, which makes so much sense. And I would like to encourage anybody who starts lobbying groups to go search Crash 69 committee, because they had unbelievable ideas. Let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's take on what was stated and work from there. You can have a lot of information with this background information. Between 1999 and 2006, less than 7 years, 47 lives were taken during that time. As we stated earlier, that has drastically reduced. And France mentioned a number, which I wrote down at some point, but I believe it's down to 18 deaths and 125 injuries. That is a drastic reduction in the amount of death just by increasing the amount of 4-lane and kilometers available and keeping ourselves safe and everyone we love. We are right. We are traveling this highway, this corridor, so much, and we've closed the borders on certain occasions, which has also increased this entire area. We want to avoid some of the U.S. traveling, and we want to bring all of our traffic through Ontario that would drive us across Canada. We're about one of the only provinces that don't reach from province to province to have these 4 lanes in place. I know I have a million things that I would like to say, and I know that a lot of you are feeling the same things that we have felt. But if we don't reach and place economic pressure on the government now and relay the information is what can you gain by bringing the 4-laning up and then diversify our northern communities, if we do this, it will better all of Ontario. You don't buy a house and only furnish the living room, you furnish the entire house. Therefore, you're part of the government, you're responsible for the entire province of Ontario. Therefore, let's speak out to the provincial government and state what we want and bring in all the key factors that you want.
You are absolutely right that there are more and more traffic on Highway 69. Our neighbors to the south have put all sorts of difficulties for trucks to go through the U.S. because there used to be a lot of trucks coming from Montreal, Quebec City, Ottawa that would go to Toronto, cross over into the U.S. and come back into Canada way further out west. None of this happen anymore. They go to Toronto, they take 69 and then connect to 17 and go out west. So yes, there are more. And the stats is 18 fatality since 2018 and 125 collision resulting in injury, but more than 125 people got injured. There's 125 accidents that have resulted in bodily injury to people. But we don't have the number of people that were injured, just we know that it's more than 125.
Okay, we have time for just 3 more questions.
Hey, just before we go to the next one, I want to thank you for also bringing up the fact that it's the drivers who survive that are affected as well. It's heartbreaking to think of the number of collisions that have happened, and we don't know what happens to those drivers afterwards. Have to live with it, and through no fault of their own, black ice, road conditions, other things that can be prevented. That's really important. And I do want to acknowledge Jerry Lougheed, who had called me last week to talk about some of this last week. Jerry does many, many great things in the community, but I'm sure he would help kick this off. I'm making a commitment for you, Jerry. But I'm sure he would help connect the dots between the former committee and a new committee to ensure we're successful. This is very important to him as well.
Hi, my name is Greg Miller. I was president of the Chamber of Commerce in 1990 and started a campaign called Express It, which was a campaign to capture signatures to bring down to Queen's Park, which happened in 1991. You can imagine how I feel sitting here 36 years later, having presented that with 2 MPPs to the Minister of Transportation, who at that time was Mr. Pouliot, and sitting here, it's heartwarming to see a crowd like this. I thought when I came into the parking lot, I might be the only one. So it's great to see so many people interested still after all this time. And I appreciate what you guys are doing, France and Jamie, to keep it going. We need to do that. We need to keep it going no matter what. I can't tell you what happened with those signatures. The presentation was made. Shelley Martel and Sharon Murdoch were in the room. We made that presentation, and it went pretty much nowhere. In fact, I believe there was a trade-off with the Southeast bypass at that time, and Highway 69 was put on the side, on the burners. This highway it touches all of us somehow. My brother-in-law was killed. Excuse me, my doctor's sister, who was mentioned before, Kelly, and her 2 sons, 2 twin sons were killed. A friend of mine was behind them and has to go to hearings, or had to go to hearings to describe exactly what happened, and he described it to me, and it isn't very pleasant. Something has to be done.
I just have a suggestion. I think you need to hear from the people that work those highways, the first responders, the OPP officers that work those highways every single day. You need those stories.
That's an excellent suggestion.
They were some of the first responders that were in the room at the beginning. They had a meeting at 7:15, so they had to leave, but we will connect with them. They came to hear what we had to say, but we will connect with them. Good idea.
So the last question is online, and it's from Kevin, and he is watching all of you right now. He wants to know who in the room would go to Queen's Park to raise some hell about this.
Thank you for that, Nicole. We're going to wrap up because we had that commitment for this amount of time. For people who weren't able to speak or people who have more to say, just contact our offices, either France and I, to share those stories. There's also a QR code, I think, at the front. Oh, right at the back. There's QR codes. We're going to do one more? Okay. Absolutely, yeah, for sure.
Hi. Look, so far, if nothing happens, if we don't do nothing, nothing's going to happen. Why don't we get the Ministry of Transport here to Sudbury to address the issue with the Chamber of Commerce or with a town hall meeting like this, as such, to say, what the hell is going on? Why are you guys kicking this can down the road? You know, if there's no desire to do it, then they're just going to keep on kicking the can down the road forever.
I think it's a great suggestion.
We're back at Queen's Park on Monday. I guarantee you I'm going to go see the Minister of Transportation and invite him, then do it in a letter, and then do it on a question on the order paper, and do it any possible ways possible. Good idea.
Tina, were you telling me to wrap up? Okay. Okay, so there are petitions at the back that can be signed. There's a QR code at the back that you can scan with your phone. If you don't know how to do that, you can call us or email us to share your story. There are a lot of great suggestions that were suggested today. I want to thank you all for coming out and spending the time. It's a relatively really nice night, and so I know how important it is to everybody. France and I are committed to ensuring that this continues to go forward. If there's ways that you can share with more people, we need to keep this going. We need to keep it the pressure on the government. It doesn't matter if the government changes. We need to keep the pressure on whatever government. If we form government, keep the pressure on us. We'll continue our commitment to 4-lane Highway 69. I think I've covered everything. Please drive safe on the way home from this event with all the talk about driving. Try not to be distracted. France, is there anything you want to wrap up?
I just want to thank each and every one of you who took time out of your busy life to come and share your story and to come and show that the 4-laning of Highway 69 matters to you. It matters to your family. It matters to our community. As I said before, we live in a democracy. The more of us speak with one voice, the more of us ask for the same thing, the more of us have the same goal, we will get there. It's just a question of how fast. But don't be shy. Be loud. And remember, the more stories we can bring forward, the more people understand how important this is, the faster he will get there. There is no way we're waiting to 2037 because before this it's 68 kilometers. Let's get that done. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, everybody. Drive safe.